Another episode of TLGMMA podcast, episode number 8. How you doing today, JT?
I'm doing pretty good.
Right on. I'm
Yep.
doing pretty good myself. Today seems to be a interesting day for me for some reason. I guess there's just a lot on my heart and mind after a weekend in the mountains, connected with nature and or God or whatever you want to call it. And really, I guess, connecting with my soul and experiencing tastes of freedom in California that I haven't tasted in a while. And I was driving up the mountains and stopped to get gas in a town that I'm not going to name. I went to the gas station, didn't have to wear a mask. There was no sign on the door on the outside said anything about a mask. I felt really weird just being normal. And it felt weird to feel weird about that, you know? I needed to use the bathroom, so I asked the guy for a key, got a key, went to the bathroom, came back, gave him the key, pumped my gas, all that good stuff. Just got to be normal and not deal with any funny looks, any judgment, any forced mandates or anything. And I think that's just a sign to me that I think things are coming to an end, and or just hope that if people do come together in a town or a city and decide to live a certain way, then the mandates don't have to be followed, because the reality is they're not law. And I'll never forget when this pandemic first happened, and I was working at the UFC gym, and they were talking about it happening and how, oh, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. And I'm like, no, they're not. That's illegal. It's literally illegal. And of course, if I would have spoke up about this 2 or 3 years ago and gone crazy on it, I would have maybe been canceled or deplatformed. And it sucks that people have to literally feel weird about telling the truth before it's accepted by the masses, if you will. And if you're paying attention to the podcast world, and of course one of the godfather, if you will, Joe Rogan, is dealing with a lot of flack and controversy, which is unfortunate. Because what Joe Rogan's actually doing by being just curious and talking to people is actually one of the purest forms of religion that anyone can practice. And I think that's what scares people the most, and they don't realize it. I did a little bit of research a long time ago about religion and learned that contemplative Christianity, the true purest form of Christianity, is to simply contemplate and ask the question of why. That's the most spiritual question you can ask, is why. And I think that's one of the first things as children that we get conditioned out of us. Stop asking why. Just do as you're told. And when it comes to denying and repressing our own thoughts, our own feelings, our emotions, simply asking why should definitely not be something that's denied or repressed. And that's when you should know that something's going on. Something's afoot, if you will. Gaslighting is a term that's been used for a long time and originated back from this play, actually. And I'm going to look up Operation Safe Escape just posted about this, and I shared it on my story on Instagram. My Instagram is @Tyson Griffin if you want to check it out, but you have to check out the post on Operation Safe Escape, which is a nonprofit organization that helps assist victims of domestic violence and associated crimes, and remain safe after leaving, because that's the most important thing, is to remain safe once you get away. Anyway, they posted about gaslighting. I'll just read here. Did you know that the term gaslighting, a form of abuse that causes the target to doubt their perception and sanity, originated in a 1938 play by Patrick Hamilton? In it, Jack Manningham caused his wife, Bella, to question her sanity as he searched the apartment above theirs for jewels. When she heard his footsteps, he insisted she was hearing things. When she saw the gas lighting dim as he turned the one upstairs on, he insisted she was seeing things. Eventually, she started to question everything in her life until she was finally vindicated. But gaslighting in itself isn't a work of fiction. It's an insidious form of abuse that can cause trauma and mental anguish to the victim. Learn more about what gaslighting, how to recognize it, and what to do if someone is gaslighting you. And there's a link here that you can check out, which is safeescape.org/what-is-gaslighting/. So that's what I believe is going on, and what has been going on is a bunch of gaslighting. And the question is, why? Why all the gaslighting? There's been a bunch of corporations that have made a ton of money. A ton of money. The rich have been getting richer and the poor have been getting poorer. And just like in that description, mental health has been going downhill. Anxiety, depression, suicide, all those things. It's one of the things that really motivated me to get this podcast going, was that people are hurting because they're wanting to know the truth. They're wanting to ask why. They're wanting to speak the truth. But they're being canceled. They're being denied. And that's not what I know America to be about. It's supposed to be the land of the free and the home of the brave. And I'm going to call out a few people, not individually, but you know who you are. And I don't even know who they all are. But there's a lot of fat cat people that had the comfort, and maybe I'll call one person out. As much as I love what he's doing, Joe Rogan, he ran from California. Now, granted, if I had the finances to do so, maybe I would have too. But I can't. There's a lot of us that can't run. There's a lot of us that need to stand up and fight and be true Californians and be pioneers for the truth. And keep asking why, and encouraging people like Joe Rogan to ask why, even if he wants to get out of California. And guess what? If I was Joe Rogan living in Southern California, I'd have been out of there too. That place is crazy. In my opinion, Southern California and Northern California are two different states, almost two different countries. So, up north in the mountains, good old mountain folk, it's a little different. Down south in Hollywood, we'll talk about gaslighting, smoke and mirrors, and all the BS. Well, I think we know all about that. And maybe that's why Joe Rogan had to get out of there. You know, whether Joe Rogan realizes it or not, he's waking himself up. He's literally having an enlightened experience on his podcast, and he's kind of going, oh shit, I think. A little bit at least, maybe is going, oh shit. Kind of reminds me of like waking up in a cage going, oh shit. I don't know if I really want to be here, but I'm here. And just seeing the truth for what it was. Recognizing that, holy shit, all these people are watching us fight because they don't believe in themselves. They got to fill themselves up with liquor and somehow convince themselves all this is okay and that they don't want to chase their hopes and dreams and just to cheer for somebody else and keep consuming and be a consumer and don't look for the truth. Well, the truth is, you can accomplish anything you put your mind to through the ABCs of change and conditioning. You can check that out in the last podcast with Derek. Maybe that's what we'll have to add to that title. Anyway, check that out in the last podcast, ABCs of Change. And at the end of the day, we're just creatures of conditioning. And you got to be careful of the information you listen to and let yourself be conditioned by. And you definitely should allow yourself to ask why. Why are people trying to cancel Joe Rogan? Why are people so scared? Why are people still living in fear? We shouldn't let fear drive us to do anything, and we shouldn't let fear prevent us from doing anything. There's a couple acronyms for fear that you can use that I heard from, I believe it's Charlemagne. What's his name? He's a radio host. Charlemagne the God. There you go. Yeah. Charlemagne the God. Maybe that's why I forgot. Kind of weird to call somebody God. But anyway, he used a couple different acronyms for fear that I liked. Fear everything and run, or fear everything and rise. Because that's the truth. Everybody experiences fear. I've experienced fear. Before my fights, I used to always say, if people say they're not scared, they're lying. And then I did it so much, I got comfortable. I prepared for a fight so much and so right, I wasn't scared. But guess what? Then I got scared that I wasn't scared. Right? So there's always a way to find something to be fearful of if we want to find something to be fearful of. Right? Hell, I'm scared of the fact that I'm not even scared. That freaks me out a little bit. You got to be careful in being in that place of mind, of not caring. Right? You might be willing to die. Be careful. Don't become a martyr. Don't be conditioned by the Christian view of being a martyr like Jesus Christ. It might sound good. People might talk about you forever, like Martin Luther King, etc. But can you still take action? Can you still get things done? Maybe your legacy will live on, and if that's your journey, you decide to be a martyr, hats off to you. It's just not what I'm going to do. I guess right now I'm going to share my sort of unfiltered thoughts, not necessarily around what other people are doing, but just what I know about sort of viruses, bacteria, health, etc. And just know this comes from literally 37 years of being in and out of modern medicine, of being born with a very rare congenital cardiac condition, or I had to have surgery at 1 year old, almost died twice when I was younger, grew up with very many respiratory issues, bronchitis, asthma, a number of things. I had my tonsils, my adenoids removed. I've had calcium deposits taken out of my salivary glands. I've had multiple surgeries on my knees, surgery on my neck. I'm a licensed holistic nutrition lifestyle coach. I'm not a doctor, but like I said, this is not medical advice, but it does come with a lot of experience. And just to be truthful, one of the best and worst things I ever heard from somebody in my family growing up, when I was younger, asking all these different questions like why, one of the things that I got told and conditioned by was, what are you, stupid? Don't you think before you talk? You think before you ask questions? Well, yes. I've been thinking for a long time, and now I'm finally talking. And as was true with my grandmother passing away, for a very long time, I and we, the whole medical health world knows, in the end, the elderly are usually taken out by a common cold, whether it be the cold, the flu, bronchitis, whatever it might be. My grandma had Parkinson's and early onset dementia. I believe she would have been here longer if people would have addressed her health from a perspective that I understand now. It's my philosophy that everybody managing Parkinson's is dealing with an under-recovered central nervous system. Your central nervous system being your brain, your skull, your spine. My grandma had her back broken in a really bad car accident. And she's had to deal with a lot of emotional stuff. So that's, is what it is. I'm not going to talk too much about that anymore. It's not polite to talk about those that are not here physically. But she's definitely here spiritually, and she's one of my angels. And she forced me to look deep in myself and my family, believing that, we might be down the same path as her with health. Looking at myself and what I had going on. True story. I've experienced tremors. And tremors are shakes that the Parkinson's people experience. So, some things I don't talk about, and I haven't told anybody actually. But there have been a couple times where involuntarily my neck would start shaking and twitching. And I've done a lot of self-massage and a lot of rehab and a lot of work to increase the health of my spine, thanks to the Czech Institute and their scientific back training, scientific core training, which is up and down that central nervous system, so helping recover my central nervous system. Learning that the rotational muscles are our stability muscles in our spine. Incorporating movement practices like the RMT ropes from the WEC method. Very, very low risk of injury and creates stability. Our twist pattern, again, rotational muscles, stability muscles in our spine, but our twist pattern is our first primal movement incorporated. The first thing we do, it's reptilian-like, right? Like that snake, like that sperm, trying to get to the egg. Twisting is the first thing we do, twisting into that egg. Now, back to my rant. They've known for a long time. Viruses, common cold, common flu, very simple things that take old people out in the end because they're so broken down. Their immune system is so broken down from a lifetime of living, living and thriving, hopefully. And now the real question for me, now with all these common colds and viruses, bacterias, etc., they know that change, and we know change is the only thing that's guaranteed. And these viruses, they've changed and mutated over time so much. And something in the wrestling community that we've used, or not used, but we've had to manage for a long time is staph. Staphylococcus. And there was a quote-unquote outbreak when staph actually mutated and became MRSA or MRSA staph. There was like a new hybrid staph, right? Now, one of my family members is a biotech and very scientific person, so I asked them questions and I got to understand that when it comes to antibiotics, the antibiotic is actually antibiotic, right? So antibiotic is like life, biology, life, right? And anti, obviously, none. So antibiotics actually kill everything in your system. They kill all your biology. They're trying to kill every bacteria in you. But they've got one active bacteria that's in that pill. So it might be named whatever, such and such antibiotic. So you're getting a strain of that biotic, that life that they feel is the most important to take out whatever's inside of you. Now, they've gave the same sort of medicine for staph for a long time. If you have a staph infection, you get, certain types of stuff. I'm not sure exactly what that is, but then at some point, what happens is these viruses, they become used to the antibiotics. They would go from basically getting taken out by the antibiotics, getting taken out sort of by the antidote, if you will, to eventually mutating and learning to treat the antibiotic as food. So they mutate, and all of a sudden, instead of it actually taking them out and killing them, now they're able to basically eat this stuff. Now, again, this isn't scientific information. I'm not saying this is 100% fact. But based on my knowledge, this is the principle that happens in nature, right? And you look at the animal world, same thing. If one sort of, you got wolves and coyotes fighting, if the wolves are eating the coyotes and the coyotes pack up, they might eventually be able to start eating the wolves, right? And they produce enough coyote babies and they can win the numbers game type of thing. So we look at nature, we can start to really put things together. And so what happened with the MRSA staph is the staph had mutated, started basically thriving off the antibiotics that normally were given for this sort of staph infection. And then when, whether it be athletes or regular people or whoever had staph, would go to the doctor to get, their normal sort of staph medicine, it wasn't working. And people's infections were getting worse. People started dying. Staph eats your flesh away. If the infection gets up into your heart and other things, brain, whatever, etc., it's not a pretty thing. So there was a big wake up where the medical community had to figure out what was going on. They had to find out new strains of antibiotics that would actually address the strain of staph that people were coming in with that was not being treated by the typical standard medicine. And then eventually they figured out the right type of antibiotic that was keeping people alive and not having them die. Now, from a holistic perspective, I'm not going to lie, I've had staph and I've not gone and got it checked out because I know what's going on. I recognize the infection early. If you have a really bad staph infection and you're like feeling really sick, you have to go get it done. Do it. This is not advice if you have a staph infection to not do this, but I will tell you what I did do. If you have an infection in an area that's really red around it and really tender to the touch and hot to the touch, these are commonly a staph infection. It's not just an ingrown hair. If it's super hot to the touch, it's super sensitive, and there's probably a giant blackhead. That's a classic staph infection. If you have black nastiness, that is death. You do not want that. You want to address your wounds when they're not black, potentially when they're just white pus. If it gets into green, nasty green pus, that's not good either. So white is good. White is healing. And I would literally, if I had a big nasty wound, I'd go out in the sun because the sun, the UV rays, kills bacteria. And I'd take a good clean blade and I'd cook it with a lighter a little bit, kill the bacteria. And I would dig whatever wound out, whatever green, whatever black, whatever death that was in there. I'd take it out. And it wouldn't always feel good. Sometimes I would get to the blood and make it bleed so that way it's bleeding out some good stuff. Because you don't want the death stuff in there. You get a splinter right away, I'll pull it out. I'll squeeze it, let it bleed a little bit. Get some of whatever infection was going in, get that shit out. And then let it be in the sun. Good 15 to 20 minutes, at least once a day, potentially 2 to 3 times a day. Can really help the wound heal. And again, this is not advice for you to do. Talk with your doctor first. This is just some of the stuff that I have done based on my experience. Why? Why would I do this? Truth is, based on experience, taking any antibiotics ruin your cardio. And if you got a fight coming up and if you're training, that's not the kind of stuff you want in you. So those are the reasons that some of us chose to not take the staph medication and do things the way that the medical system recommends for the general person, because we weren't general people. And I don't think anyone's a general person. I think we're all needing to wake up and be warriors now. Warriors for freedom, warriors for truth. And everyone's truth can be a little bit different. And like I was saying, this is the truth that I know and I believe everyone knows. These viruses, these bacteria, they mutate over time. The common cold, these common viruses, these common bacteria is what takes people out in the end. And my big why, my big question is, why is it that the average everyday person's been getting taken out by the common cold, the common virus, aka the corona virus, right? Like, why do I feel weird even saying that? Because part of me's got like a filter. If I say that, then they're gonna fucking be watching me. Well, I guess the cat's out of the bag. They don't watch anybody just for saying that anymore. But again, knowing what I know, I believe it's just the common cold. I believe the common cold has been mutating for sure. Absolutely, it's been mutating. It mutates all the time. And I think there's been common knowledge, and the medical community has admitted it forever. There is no cure for the common cold. Do you remember hearing that growing up, JT?
I think so, yeah.
There is no cure for the common cold. And I'm going to honestly tell you, I'm trying to brainwash you right now. They don't tell you they're trying to brainwash you and gaslight you. I'm trying to consciously brainwash you by repeating this. There is no cure for the common cold. However, there are countless products you can buy to treat the symptoms of a common cold. The fact that somehow a vaccine has been created to treat, cure, manage, or combat a mutating living organism is just confusing to me. So ask yourself why? Why? It can be tough sometimes to sit with why, but knowing what I know, that's contemplative spirituality and should not be frowned upon, should not be canceled, shouldn't be judged, should not be ridiculed. Growing up, I was an asthmatic fat kid. I was overweight. I would have definitely been considered obese in my age group for my height. And growing up, I wanted to know why. Why does it cost so much to be healthy? Why does it cost so much to learn how to be healthy? Now it doesn't. I'm sharing information. Everyone's sharing the information. The hard part is to do it. It costs a lot to be unhealthy. It costs a lot to eat all these processed foods and to eat all this unhealthy stuff. Then you need all these medications to deal with the symptoms because the common cold creeps you around. If you got the, what has been known, what I've been taught as called the sad crap diet. And that's what most people are on in America. Literally, sad crap. It's an acronym. SADCRAP. Standard American Diet. Now I have to remember the crap part. It's Standard American Diet. I can figure out the R, the A, and the P. What's the C? Damn it. Let's go backwards. I'm going to go backwards. P, preservatives. A, additives. D, no, not D. R,
We got carbohydrates.
there it is. C, carbohydrates,
artificial
refined sugars. Damn it, JT. I was trying to pull it out, man. I saw you looking it up. I got my phone right here. I could have looked it up.
Looks better on camera if I put it up.
What's that?
Looks better on camera if I pull it up.
It's all good. I want the truth. I like to sometimes just breathe into it. Like it's like a real life test for myself and my knowledge, But yes, sad crap. Standard American diet, carbohydrates, refined sugars, additives, and preservatives. That's what most people are eating these days. And that's not natural. Food's not supposed to come in a bag. It's not supposed to come in a box. Not supposed to come in a tin. Canning and preserving things, that is a thing. But preserved goods even have a shelf life. Things aren't meant to last forever. Unless, of course, right, we're talking about survival food. Survival situation. Maybe we have all this processed stuff. But for the most part, we should be eating, wild, grass-fed, pasture-raised eggs and meats and fish. We should be eating whole, hand-processed vegetables, fruits, legumes, seeds, nuts. If you can, try to eat within season and eat locally. You're going to get the things that you need for that environment. I think everybody knows about honey. Eat local honey for your allergies because you're getting the pollen from the bees that are in the local area and you're getting used to those things that are going inside of you. So one thing I noticed that made my allergies way better was getting rid of the dairy, getting rid of the sad crap diet, getting rid of the white devils. That's the main thing that I like to teach people is the white devils, not just the sad crap, but the white devils being white flour, white sugar, white salt, and processed dairy that's pasteurized and cooked. If it's raw, live enzyme dairy, that's good for you, but not that cooked stuff. So think about that. And the check system. I'm going to share this literally, in my opinion, this is my acronym for it. I'll share their acronym for it. TBDEMS. To be determined everyday medical system. For emergencies, go to the hospital. That's what it's there for. Growing up, I had emergencies, I had to go to the hospital. Makes sense. But every day, thinking about going to the hospital or not, every day, thinking about taking stuff to manage symptoms, that's not right. So the to be determined everyday medical system, TBDEMS. I'm just saying that so you can remember this acronym. To be determined everyday medical system, TBDEMS. Now, the real foundation principles is the Czech Institute's 6 foundation principles. Thinking, breathing, drinking, eating, moving, sleeping. TBDEMS. I believe it's the everyday, to be determined everyday medical system, but in reality, it's thinking, managing our thoughts, learning to sort of ask why and observe the negative ones, try to find a deeper truth into it, and maybe even find a way to find some positivity and love in that situation. Focus on the thoughts and the things that we want to create in our life. Our positive, affirmative thinking versus the opposite, glass is half full type of a thinking. Even when it gets half empty, you got to get back to focusing on the half full. Our thinking and our psyche is number one. On the Czech totem pole, psyche is number one. If we don't have our psyche right, we can literally convince ourselves it's not worth being on this planet. And that's not okay with me. Everyone's important. And if you can get positive thinking and find things that you have control of, for me, the serenity prayer is something that helped my thinking a lot. Now, on a bigger scale, the 4 agreements help my thinking a lot as well. It's all these different things and different layers. The serenity prayer goes like this. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Give me the courage to change the things that I can. And the wisdom to know the difference. So, that, constantly having that prayer in mind, or I put it on my phone, that's what I would do. Like, I literally put it on my screen on my phone, and that way all the time look at it, like, oh, that's serenity prayer, fuck. And I read it, all right. Then I open my phone, right? So things that I really want to remember, sometimes I'll put on my phone, on my lock screen or whatever. So that way I have to see it. And I did it enough to I remember that serenity prayer, and then I've taken it off. It's not there anymore, so I don't have to worry about it. True story for you fighters. I used to put my opponent on my lock screen. Every time, 8 weeks out, I put my opponent on my lock screen. So every time I picked up my phone, I'd see my opponent's face. And it just reminded me that the task that I had at hand. I had work to do still, maybe. And I got so annoyed with seeing this motherfucker that I'd finally start hating him. Because I wasn't really a big, like, I hate my opponent type of thing. But when I saw him enough, and I got a diet enough, and I'm eating this healthy food, and I got to see this guy's face all the time, well, you bet your ass, I started hating this motherfucker. And I couldn't, my favorite day ever, my favorite day during fight camp was the day after the fight, or the day of usually the day after. Day of or day after. I take that motherfucker's face off my phone. Like, this motherfucker's not running my life anymore. Fuck that. So, we can use these things again, right? I had the Serenity Prayer on there. It doesn't run my life, but it is an underlying layer that's always there. And if I get too caught up in what do I do? What do I do next? Oh my God, I'm freaking out. There's so much problems that I have in my house. There's so many problems in the world. There's so many problems everywhere, right? Back to that Serenity Prayer. That can help ground you and help you focus on what you have control of. Focus on what you think is most important to do next. And just take it one step at a time, man. One step at a time, one day at a time. Multitasking is not a real thing. Unfortunately, it came around. It came about because of these computers and all this digital technology. Dual processing. Like, wait, what? Now we got quad processing, right? There's even more, right? I don't even know all the technology, but I think I got close enough. So the reality is we got one nervous system, and our entire nervous system doesn't know what's what, right? It just dumps everything into one funnel. So less is more. Less is more. Focus on what you have to do next and keep positive, dream affirmative thinking that's in line with your goals. Number 2, breathing. Making sure that we're getting good, deep belly breathing. First 2/3 of our breath should come from our diaphragm or our belly. The last third, our chest, and our chest might rise. So if your chest is rising when you're breathing first, you can put your hand on your belly and your hand on your chest, right? As you start your inhale, what moves first? Is your hand on your chest or your hand on your stomach? JT, let's do it together. Let's take a deep breath. What moved first? Hand on your stomach or the hand on the hand? There you go. Hand on the chest, the stomach. So it should move first, the hand on the stomach. And if it's not, well, then just try to focus. Do it again. And just try to focus on that belly first. And even deeper, you can try to focus on breathing through your nose, keeping the tongue on the roof of your mouth, having your mouth open. Being a mouth breather is not a good thing. Messes up your jaw, dries out your throat, and all your good tissues down there. There's a lot of, I guess it does open you up for funk to go down right into your respiratory and digestive tract. You don't want to be breathing in bacteria. Your nose has hairs and all that to actually filter stuff. I didn't think of it, but that's the truth. So, yeah, breathing through that nose if you can. And then also thinking about your breath pattern, right? So we have 2 different types of breathing I want you to learn about. Sympathetic breathing, where we're breathing really fast, right? Increasing our heart rate, sort of fight or flight. Maybe Kundalini yoga. Most animals in nature, not most, I think all actually, they have to move with their breath, right? It's 1 for 1. Well, as humans, we have the ability to stop that. We can So sympathetic breathing would be that running, that fight or flight, or freeze. Get you stuck. Maybe shallow breathing, right? We also want to learn about parasympathetic. There's our rest, digest, recovery type breathing. That's the most important. So that sort of 1-to-1 breathing can be activating the sympathetic. And for parasympathetic, we want to either do what is called box breathing, or we want to double our exhale from our inhale. So if we were doing like a 4-count inhale, then it would be an 8-count exhale. Trying to get all that air out, right? So again, 4 in, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can even hold for a second. 8 count out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And when you double that exhale from the inhale, it helps activate that parasympathetic system, that rest, digest, recover. So if you're ever getting panicky and feeling anxious and feeling fight or flight, just try to, as long as you're not in a dangerous situation, if you're safe, looking around, just try to tell yourself, have positive thinking. You're safe, you're loved, you're human. Focus on your breathing. In for 4, out for 8. Slow that nervous system down. You slow your breathing down, you slow your heart rate down. That's what I would tell myself in between fights, in between rounds and fights. I'd say, slow your breathing, slow your heart rate. Slow your breathing, slow your heart rate. Control your breathing, control your heart rate. All right? And that goes right back to thinking. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking about my breathing. Right? So good breathing helps also move a lot of stuff through us. Our breath is a respiratory, is a detoxification system as well. When we're exercising and we're forced into mouth breathing, we're actually detoxing and purging a lot of that stuff out, whether it's sweating out of our pores or sweating out of our hot breath. So don't do any hot breathing throughout the day, but during your workout, sure, breathe out of your mouth, detox it out. Drinking. You want to make sure you're drinking high quality water. High quality water. Spring water or artesian well water, I believe, is the best water, like Fiji water. I buy Arrowhead bottles of water. That's what I do. Or big jugs of water, the 2.5 gallon. So if you can get good spring water, artesian well water, or worst case scenario, filter your tap water and then add in some pink salt or something to remineralize after you've had to filter it to get most of the toxic minerals that are potentially in there out. So there's different levels with it. Try to do your best to work towards getting the best water. Good air, good water, and good thinking. Again, 3 of the 6 foundation principles, more important than anybody ever can understand. And if you can address those, you'll start to manage your health and your energy in a really positive way. Get into the last 3. Eating. Making sure you're eating non-toxic food, which, in my opinion, means it's going to be organic or biodynamically farmed. Everything used to be organic until, we got commercial food, right? We all know about that, the sad crap. We just talked about it. So if you can eat good organic or biodynamic wild food, it's going to be the best for you. You want to eat within the food that's best for you. Check Institute Teaches the Primal Pattern Diet. If you'd like to hit me up, reach out to me. I can help you work out your primal pattern diet and learn what's best for your type, whether that be the equatorial type growing up or having your lineage come from places close to the equator, whether that be the polar type coming from places by polar regions, or a varial type mixing them in between. Moving. Making sure that you're moving enough for you, not too much and not too little. You got to find the right balance for you in your life and make sure that it's appropriate for you. It's helping you move in the direction of your goals and dreams and not just being used as a sort of escape mechanism to, just do hard workouts. Because if we're sort of running off of our unconscious shadow or unconscious programming and we're working out hard physically and breathing hard, we're actually going to ingrain that conditioning even deeper. That denying and that repressing is going to get even deeper. People get big and strong and thick at denying and repressing the truth, So you got to be careful getting too big, too strong, and loving to move too much, right? If you're too tight, too sore all the time, that mind and body, they have a way of mirroring each other. So if you're a little bit tight and tense with your relationships and your people, maybe you need to chill out in the gym, bro. Do some yoga. Or just have a day off. Go walk in nature. Just go breathe. Do thinking, breathing, and some drinking. Or, last one, freaking sleep. Right? Just get some sleep. Maybe it's time to sleep. That can make us be tight and stressed out too. So, sleep, the last one, but also the most important. Sleep is one of the most powerful medicines you can ever have. You want to make sure that you're sleeping, if possible, from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. This is your most optimal recovery window. From 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. is your physical recovery window. From 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. is your psychological and neurological recovery window. So if you're waking up throughout those times, you might have different things going on that can be a window into what needs to be addressed as well. Maybe it needs to be addressed throughout those other principles, and allow you to sleep even better. So too little of movement can make it hard to sleep, and too much movement can make it hard to sleep. So this is your to be determined everyday medical system, brought to you by Tyson Griffin via the Czech Institute. Thinking, breathing, drinking, eating, moving, sleeping. If you can master those every day, I promise you your symptoms, your cold-like symptoms will be much less. And it's my philosophy that we are all creatures of conditioning. You can condition yourself any way you want. I used to be conditioned, and I used to literally say that I'm a consumer. I used to eat so much damn food so fast, people couldn't believe it. They're like, "Goddamn, Tyson, where'd that go? I just put that down." I said, "Yeah, you put it in front of me, man. I'm a consumer. I ate it." Right? So I dare say I'm still a consumer, but I'm a conscious consumer. And I encourage everyone to be conscious consumers and to condition yourself consciously. That's my humanimal philosophy, that we are creatures of conditioning. And humanimal meaning we're half human, we're half animal. I think some people get too animalistic, too primal, too fight or flight, life or death. I think some people get too human, too intellectual, too scientific. We got to find this balance of being humanimal again. Right? Growing up, I learned that in nature there's carnivores and there's herbivores. Now, granted that the science is not necessarily correct, that there's only that way in nature. They're not super strict in nature. But there's omnivores in the middle. We're omnivores, and there's a lot of animals that are omnivores. There's not just carnivores and herbivores. That's not how simple it is. If you really get down to it, the carnivores that are eating the herbivores are eating herbs through the herbivores, right? Most animals go right for the guts and the intestines. If that deer, let's say knowing what I know, apparently the bears are eating the fawns, the deer babies or whatever, right? If that bear eats a deer that's been eating grass, and that deer's guts is all full of grass, I think the bear, if he goes for the guts first, eats the intestines and the organs like most animals do, well then guess what? He just ate some grass, didn't he? He just got some nutrients.
Yeah.
You know, it's pre-digested. It's got probiotic qualities. It's been in there fermenting in the gut just for them. And so yeah, if you really break things down, and you're really consciousness if you want to hear more about it, you can listen to the Cannabis and Consciousness podcast. But consciousness is a psychic substance produced not blindly, but in living awareness of the opposites and understanding that, right? Even those herbivores, I bet you they've eaten a few bugs on those plants, maybe on accident. I bet they've ate a worm or two. Are they really just herbivores? What's meat? Is a worm meat? Right? So there's all kinds of details, and there's all kinds of things going on, and all kinds of critical things that needs to happen. It's not too simple. But again, that's my philosophy. We gotta learn to be humanimal again. I think nature, staying connected with nature, is a way for us to maintain that humanimal philosophy, right? People can argue all they want in the city and in the buildings about the science. Put a bunch of people in nature. They'll get along real quick. What's that noise? Who's the big strong guy? Who's got the weapons? Who's not scared? Who knows how to cook? I'm hungry. Right?
It's usually the big strong guy that's scared of the noises.
That's funny, right? See, don't judge a book by its cover. I guess that's me. That's the little guy. The little guys aren't scared. David versus Goliath. Here we go. But see, you gotta be careful of the myths that we're living out. You know. So I think this might be a good place to wrap it up. But I think we all gotta start leaning into our own truths and asking a little bit more why. I think a lot of people have been conditioned to repress and deny their sort of negative feelings, their negative experiences growing up. Whether that be starting with parents, whether that be with religion, whether that be with science, whether that be with God, whether it be with whatever. I think we gotta get back to sharing our truth and trying to do it from a place of love so we can all grow and move a little bit more mindfully in this world and try to create a little bit more light and a little bit more less darkness. Because as we know, the world is always going to be full of both. It's always going to be full of both, whether we like it or not. So you just got to choose what you want to be a part of and what you want to facilitate growing and conditioning yourself and those you love around you about. And that to me is why I got into holistic stuff, because it goes back to the foundation principles mostly connected with nature. My holistic license allows me to suggest or recommend anything that is natural. That's what I do. I'm not a doctor. I don't diagnose. I don't prescribe. I suggest, I recommend, based on years of research from the Czech Institute, years of research from things that have worked fine in nature. But because you cannot put a patent, because you cannot trademark things that are in nature, there's not as much money in marketing these type of strategies. There's not as much products that I could even sell just telling you to drink good water, right? But I promise you, the easier path, although it might take longer, is the way that you want it to go. I attended the Tony Robbins Unleash the Power event myself, and I got a lot of good stuff from it, and I'm very grateful that I was able to experience that. Thankful of Tony Robbins gifting it to me, and also John Hackelman, who put that together. So thank you to you both. But I will share this. The faster you experience change, the faster you can change back. And I dare say the slower you experience the change, the slower it's going to be to change back. So I like the holistic route a little bit better. The Tony Robbins route does work, but you can be triggered and flop right back into your old patterns. For me, the holistic route is the true route of mastery and allows the old patterns to just fall away. When you really focus on the new conditioning, then the old patterns just literally disappear. That's probably why I couldn't remember the sad crap diet, because I just don't remember. I'm like, what is that stuff? You know? Like, I know what the white devils are. I don't even eat that stuff anymore, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I used to be in love with carbohydrates, refined sugars, additives, preservatives. Yeah, I used to love that stuff. But it made me feel so jittery and like, ah. And the truth is, if you're out there dealing with anxiety and stuff, sugar is always going to keep your nervous system elevated. It's going to always keep you in that fight or flight. It's going to be really hard to manage your breathing if you have sugar and caffeine in your system all the time. So just something to think about. And we'll wrap it up here. And I want to end with a couple ways that you can help support the podcast. You can share it with a friend. Share it with somebody you think can help benefit from hearing this information or these stories. Help condition us a little bit more towards love and truth. You can support the podcast financially, going to the link in the description and become a monthly supporter. Shout out to Junior for supporting. And I'm thinking about, I've got a bunch of these posters here from when I fought Rafael dos Anjos at Fight of the Night. I'm thinking about doing maybe a giveaway for some of the subscribers. Maybe like after 6 months, the first however many subscribers, however many posters I have rather. So if you're interested maybe in a poster, leave a comment that you'd be interested in a poster and to help support by subscribing to the podcast, again through the link in the description. you can also purchase coaching. Purchase coaching packages from me to not only help me, but also help yourself. So it'll be complete reciprocity, a give and a take. Purchase coaching packages, and I'll help you go through some of the assessments and some of the journey that I have, breaking free from the sad crap, breaking free from our old conditioning, and finding a healthier, more holistic nutrition and lifestyle that's in line with your dreams and your goals. And the reason is because JT over here needs support. This guy puts in some work, and I want to pay him. I personally, on a serious note, all jokes aside, if I never make money off of this podcast, I will be okay with that. I am okay making money off of my coaching and working hard for my money. The reason I created this podcast is because I want to help people stay on this earth. I'm tired of hearing about the suicide rates going up. I'm tired of hearing about domestic violence. I'm tired of hearing about spouses killing each other. I'm tired of hearing about murder-suicides. And I shouldn't say I'm tired, because that's something I've conditioned myself to stop doing. I'm motivated by all that stuff. I'll never say never, but I'm conditioning myself to not say the tired stuff anymore. I am motivated. That's the conditioning, right? We got to be careful using these words. These words are magic. I tell myself I'm tired of all that stuff. Guess what? Next thing you know, I wake up, I'm tired. I am motivated by all of this. And that is why I've created this podcast. However, this podcast is not possible without JT doing all this editing. And I want to help JT make a living helping share this information with the world and just help make this world a better place. So whether you support the podcast through a subscription, through just liking it, sharing it, subscribing to it, telling a friend, purchase coaching, whatever, or just listening to it, be selfish. Be selfish with good morals and good values. Just listen to it for yourself and just be a leader and find a way to get on the good, healthy path. And everyone's watching. You don't have to necessarily tell everybody. They're watching, they're paying attention. And be the change you wish to see. And let us all get back to being free. Not only in America, but I dare say, try to let that flood over to everywhere else. I think there was a time where America was trying to let everybody else be free. And now all of a sudden we're like the leader in not being free. So let's get back to being the leader and being free. And understand that you can be the change you wish to see. And be careful for these things that you let them condition you to eventually vote on. Because it might become law. All this stuff got put in place illegally, from my opinion, my perspective. If we don't follow in line with it, it can't happen. There are places in California right now, people are being free. I did it over the weekend. Walked in the store without a mask. It felt amazing just to be free and see people's faces and be human and smile again. And I think that's the end. Peace, love, happy healing.